She had no memory of the crash at first, only the feeling of waking up inside twisted metal and smoke burning her lungs. Her vision was blurry, her ears ringing, and she couldn't move her legs pinned under the dashboard. Every breath felt like fire, and every second felt heavier as the world around her went quiet. But through the haze, she felt someone grabbing her arm, firm, steady, and absolutely determined. She tried to speak, but her mouth felt full of dust as the stranger whispered, "I've got you. Stay awake." His grip was strong, his voice calm, cutting through the chaos with impossible clarity. She felt herself being dragged out of the car before it exploded behind them in a violent burst of flames. She remembered coughing on the cold road, looking up, and seeing the silhouette of a man standing over her against the burning glow. He wasn't panicked like he should have been. He stood still, as if he had seen accidents like this many times before. She blinked hard, trying to focus, trying to memorize his face in case she lost consciousness again. But the more she tried, the blurrier everything became around the edges. When she tried to reach for him, her hand touched only air. She heard sirens in the distance, loud, chaotic, racing toward her, but the stranger stepped back as if he didn't want to be seen. She felt the road vibrating beneath her palms as the fire trucks got closer, but he remained perfectly calm. She whispered, "Don't go. Please." But her voice cracked and disappeared in the smoke. And just like that, he turned and vanished into the darkness behind the burning trees. When the paramedics arrived, they found her trembling, covered in ash, with second-degree burns on her arm. They asked who pulled her out, who saved her before the car exploded, who dragged her across the road with that kind of strength. She pointed toward the woods, still shaking, but there was no one there. No footprints, no flashlight, no sign of anyone. The firefighters checked everywhere, but the only tracks found were her own. She kept insisting, "Someone pulled me out. Someone was here." But every person on scene said the same thing. "Ma'am, we got here in under 2 minutes. No one else was out here." That sentence hit her harder than the crash itself, creating a silent chill across her chest. Because she remembered the stranger's hands on her, warm, real, impossible to imagine. At the hospital, doctors told her she was lucky. The fire would have reached the gas tank within seconds. She replayed it over and over, his steady voice, his calm breathing, the way he lifted twisted metal as if it weighed nothing. She asked police to check nearby traffic cams, hoping to see him walking away. But the footage showed something she wasn't ready for. The camera facing the crash site glitched at the exact moment she was dragged from the vehicle. No shadows, no second person, no movement besides her own. And yet, she remembered someone whispering, "Stay awake. I'm right here." Her hands still felt the pressure of his grip. A detective visited her room and placed a small, burnt piece of fabric on her bedside table. Something they found stuck to her jacket. It wasn't from her clothes, and it didn't match anything inside her car. She picked it up with shaky fingers, realizing it belonged to someone who shouldn't exist. The detective lowered his voice and said, "Whoever helped you didn't stick around long enough to leave evidence." That night, she woke up gasping, certain she heard the same calm voice whispering in her hospital room. She looked around in the dim blue light, heart pounding, but the room was empty except for her IV monitor beeping steadily. She pulled the curtain aside, expecting someone in the hallway, but she saw nothing but sterile white floors and shadows. She whispered, "Who are you?" But no answer came. Days later, she revisited the crash site on crutches, trying to make sense of everything. The burned trees were still blackened, the road still scarred, and the air still smelled faintly of smoke. She tried to picture him standing there, silhouetted by flames. But the strangest part wasn't what she remembered. It was what she found. Near the tree line, half buried in ash, she discovered a single boot print, massive, deeper than any normal person could leave. It faced the road, as if someone had been watching over her long before the crash even happened. She felt a chill crawl up her spine as she crouched down, touching the print like it might disappear. And then she realized something that made her step back with shaking breath. The boot print was charred into the ground, as if the person who left it had walked through fire without being burned. She returned home with more questions than answers, and a terrifying, comforting feeling she couldn't shake. Because whatever he was, man, ghost, guardian, he had saved her life when no one else could. Weeks passed, but every time she closed her eyes, she saw his silhouette standing in firelight. And sometimes, when the wind was quiet, she swore she heard that same calm whisper. "Stay awake. I'm right here." She doesn't tell the story for attention or sympathy, because no one believes the parts she wants to share most. But she tells it because she knows someone else might need to hear it. Someone who barely survived something they can explain. And every time she finishes the story, she ends with the same quiet truth. Not all heroes stick around for the credit. Some just disappear. If you believe stories like this should never be forgotten, and you want more mysterious true hero tales like this, subscribe and help keep these stories alive.